On his debut, Jarno Opmeer wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Stop it! Around the outside operation! Line shadow is contact again. Ronhard is around.
Bethany, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does!
15 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.
Hello everybody and welcome along to World Online Racing League Season 12, and we're back after our break week as we head to Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me in the commentary box after filling in for Tier 1 a few weeks ago, it is Mr. Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening, Jess. Good evening to everyone that is watching at home. Great to be back in Tier 2 after my one-off appearance in the Tier 1 commentary box. I'm really looking forward to tonight. Canadian Grand Prix. It's not a circuit a lot of the drivers on the game enjoy. Personally, I do think it is quite an enjoyable track, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing what kind of racing we are going to get tonight.
Yes, it's been on the F1 Canada since 1978, and there's been some famous moments back in Formula 1 history where we saw the famous Jenson Button take a really good win after doing 6 pit stops in the changeable conditions, and he was very, very good at that as well. And if you missed a few weeks ago, we were at Zandvoort where we saw the first time we had a repeat winner this season of Drake Dempsey. He took a dominant victory as well. It was great to see his true form come to life as well. There was quite a few overtakes there as well, but Drake Dempsey at the moment looks like he's the early favourite.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, all the races that I've commentated on, he got pole position in Russia, victory in Austria, and then I wasn't there last time around, but victory in the Netherlands as well. He's had a podium earlier on in the season, seems to just have that consistency at the moment. Lenny Pinter's another one who's up there as well, finished second last time around, but Morgan Ball getting some good points. They seem to be the ones that are always near the top every time they race, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think Drake's looking very good at the moment. He just seems to have got that extra bit of confidence, that extra bit of belief that getting that first win in the season sometimes gets you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go through the standings in just a moment, but we're about to head into the qualifying session, and it looking like the heavens are open at the moment. It is a wet qualifying session with intermediate conditions, which is what the drivers would not want to experience here today. We only got 11 drivers, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have some action. We are going to have some action here in Tier 2 as Drake Dempsey's the first man to put his time on the board at the moment as Morgan Ball, he comes through the final corner to set his lap as well. There was a McLaren 1-2 a few weeks ago as well, so looking to repeat his good form as well. And 1:17.6, the times are quite close, but characteristics about this track, it remains to be seen, but it's just the final few corners, you can cut quite a lot and you're getting validation to turn 4 as well, but it's a lot harder in the wet conditions. When I do races around here in Canada, I absolutely hate it in the wet, love it in the dry as well. But I wonder how many drivers have been practicing Canada in the wet. I wonder if they just resorted to doing dry sessions because obviously they had the extra week to practice.
Yeah, I think it's a circuit you are always expecting that there's the chance of rain around here. I mean, let's not forget 2011 with Jenson Button, of course. I know you mentioned it earlier on, that 4-hour long race, longest in F1 history. There's always that possibility of rain around here, and it is one where you need to get it right in the wet conditions because it's effectively a street circuit. We don't tend to think of it as the traditional street circuits, like Baku, Singapore, Jeddah, and Monaco, of course, but the barriers are never too far away from here. It's very easy to get it wrong. Just knock off a front wing end plate, especially like you mentioned, coming through the final chicane, coming into that wall of champions. Very easy to get it wrong. Great Dempsey's fastest of everyone at the moment. And this is what we're going to expect throughout this session. The drivers will get multiple laps in on this same set of intermediates.
Yes, it's not like dry qualifying where you only go on 1 lap of softs and then that's it for your first stint. Your first stint will be 3 or 4 laps top. So, apart from Leonard, actually, who wants to go into the pits. But running on board with Danny, who is his first appearance in Tier 2 this evening. He is filling in for one of the Red Bull drivers here tonight. I think he's filling in for Fritzen. He has invalidated in the final corner, just as we were talking about the final corner. So I was watching him in one of the other leagues in PC Tier 2 in PSGL the other week, and he did a pretty good job. He was in the top 4 quite consistently as well, and it actually started off quite rainy in Austria as well. So he is a man that could be up there on his day as well, but with a small amount of turnout tonight as well, this could be some good chance to get some points. And there's only needing 1 retirement, and then you'll get points. So good motivation for Danny to score points on his debut and maybe even a top 5 finish, because that is where he's looking to be at the moment. Just only a temp shy of JCP5, and he has invalidated his next run, so he won't be going again. Taz, who DNF'd a few weeks ago, he's coming across the final corner now to finish off his lap. Let's hope he doesn't invalidate this one, going past the wall of champions. He does not. He comes across the line. What will it be for the Mercedes driver? It's a 125.7, so he must have binned it somewhere in probably sector 2 or something. But at least a lap time is on the board. That just leaves Marcus Towler to set a lap time now.
Yeah, Marcus Towler, I'm guessing very possibly invalidated through the final corner, because of course you get it wrong coming through the final chicane, you invalidate the lap you're on and the one afterwards as well, what we saw Danny Lusnik do as well. But there we go, Marcus Towler comes across the line, goes into 6th place on a 118.0, but the 2 McLarens, the top of the Constructors' Championship, the 1-3 in the Drivers' Championship, there's a reason for that. They've been such a consistent team at the moment, 7/10 of a second ahead of the nearest cars. Interested to see what Leonard can do, because he looks to be the first driver to have gone out on a second set of the intermediate tyres. Judging by the conditions at the moment, I think we're probably going to stay on inters throughout the entire session. Can't see it getting dry. Of course, other drivers will definitely be hoping that it does not go to the full wet tyres. If it does, qualifying could be ending a lot earlier than in 10 minutes, 30 seconds time.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've seen that in a few races in WOR history as well. I think Xbox is one of them where there was an anti-climax to qualifying, which kind of ruined people's chances to get their best lap possible. But you got to be prepared for any type of condition to get your first laps in earlier on. So we go on board with Leonard actually as he starts his lap through turn 1. You take a different line there in the wet as well, because if you clip the curbs in the wet, you're probably going to end up going into a spin. Heading towards turn 2, you'll be around about 2nd gear in the wet, maybe in the dry, 1st gear possibly in the wet, heading towards turn 4. Clips that curb quite nicely as well on entry as well. Doesn't clip it too much though, as we head towards turn 6 and 7. Again, turn 5 earlier on was flat out in the dry. In the wet, not so much. You've got to be extremely careful. Leonard was quite squirmy on the throttle there as well. It just shows how hard these conditions are as well. You pass the DRS section, heading towards turn 8 and 9, inside curb on the inside, and then we're going to go ahead towards turn 9 and 10, the hairpin, which is very tricky in the wet especially, so you've got to be very, very precise on your braking and your movements on the steering wheel as well. Seems to be struggling a little bit more than the other drivers, but maybe he's on a fresh tyre set. He's probably going to be on a much quicker pace when he does a few more laps on these inters. But he comes towards the final corner. All the champions, we've seen many drivers hit that. Let's hope JC doesn't hit that later on today. But Leonard cuts to the line. P4, but that could have been pole if he didn't mess up a few times in the middle sector. That's why he tended to struggle a little bit, but that's a pretty decent start for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, seemed very committed through the wall of champion chicane. I've got to say, really did brave through there. Locked up the front right again in these wet conditions. No assist for these drivers. You will expect to see quite a lot more lock-ups and getting things wrong, but he'll be fairly happy with how he's done that. 4th place at the moment. Few other drivers in the pit, so I think heading towards the pits, ready to set lap times. Matteo Longa is improving at the moment, but he's actually I think he's heading into the pits on that one. He had him validated, but was 4/10 of a second up, so that gives him hope that he can do better later on. Taz, he's improving as well. He's 1/10 up, coming through the second sector, just a bit deep into the hairpin. That Mercedes really not gripping as much as he'd have liked. Would not surprise me if he's lost that 10th of a second there.
Yeah, he has probably, and he's run out of fuel a few people as well, so I think they're not going to improve as much. I expect most people to go into the pits now, get a few more laps on the board for their final runs, but you never know, he could find time in the final sector as Tad has just invalidated coming through that final corner, so it is quite common. I wonder if we're going to see that in the race, because Canada is quite a penalty central track. We saw that with Austria early on in the season too, so could be one to watch, as we've got David, who's just about to start his second lap, remains in 10th place at the moment, but we'll run through your order in qualifying with just over half of the session still remaining. Jake Dempsey is on pole with a 1:17.043, could be in the 1:16s if track conditions do not get worse. Morgan Ball is in second, he's about to start a lap actually at 1:17.0, making it a McLaren 1-2. When's the last time we saw that before? 2 weeks ago maybe. Leonard in third place, 1:17.2, closely followed by Lenny Pinter, who's had quite a few poles this season, in fourth. We've got Marcus Towler in P5. He needs a bit of luck tonight to get his best result as a full-time driver. Taz in sixth. Then we got JC in seventh. Danny in eighth. Matteo Longe is out of position at the moment in ninth. He got his best result of the season a few weeks ago, actually. It was his debut in ninth place, and in third place, sorry. He wasn't even expecting it because he only practiced for about half an hour before the race as well, so it's looking good. It was looking good for Matteo, but he's down in ninth now, so he's got a lot of work to do. Maybe he's not as confident in the wet as he is in the dry with this high calibre of drivers, but you never know. He could avoid the carnage up front, being this low down at the moment, and at the moment at least, they'll all be on free choice of tyres for the race, so there won't be no alternate strategy here today, considering there's only 11 drivers.
Yeah, the drivers were saying that in the chat before the race, in the Discord channel, about whoever starts in 11th place could have that bit of an advantage on the alternate strategy. On previous games, this has been a pretty solid two-stop strategy, Canada. One of the few tracks that was always nailed on for the two-stop, because it is such a short pit lane in terms of pit loss. You're talking more around 14, 15 seconds rather than the 20 plus that we get at quite a lot of the other circuits. However, on this game, you can still make the one-stop strategy work now. I've seen drivers do soft medium on here. Yes, they're struggling with pace a bit at the end, but it is definitely workable. We just have to wait and see how things are going at the moment. I think the rain might be coming down a tiny bit harder, although saying that was just Morgan Ball was a second down coming through the first sector, and he invalidated on that lap and didn't really look like he got it wrong anywhere. Marcus Towler's going to be the next man to head towards the first sector point. We'll see what sort of time he's setting. And yeah, he's only slightly down though by about 1/10 of a second, so maybe there is still a possibility of us getting some improvements here.
Yeah, there is as well, because Marcus Towler usually is confident on his second stint on these tyres, because maybe the first stint, they're maybe not as comfortable. First few laps in these wet conditions, you're not liking it as much, and you can probably tell Marcus Towler hasn't done much wet practice, so now he's more comfortable with the braking zones as well, where to find much time on the track. Maybe he find a bit more time here as he heads towards the third sector. Usually it's a DRS zone around here, but not in the wet, because DRS is disabled then. So we'll see how much he has gained. You're going to be hitting around 190, 191 miles per hour just as in the exit of the corner. Final corner he goes. I didn't see what his sector 2 split, but his sector 3 is looking pretty good. Well, it's almost looking quite good, but he lost 1/10 in that final sector, and he doesn't improve on his time there. Stays in 5th position. So I wonder if he will go again on those warring set of tyres.
Yeah, again, Matteo Longe's looking really quick, but he's invalidated once more, so he will not be improving on that lap. He is going to have another attempt, though, of course. Lenny Papinta, he's coming through the final part of the lap now. He is 1/2 of a second down, and it's interesting that you mentioned the DRS zones, Jess. There are 3 on this circuit, but the long straight out of the hairpin and the pit straight do share a detection point. So if you can get a move done into the chicane, you do obviously have that advantage of being able to pull away down the straight. Most drivers, though, tend to go for a move into turn 1. It is the slightly easier corner to pull off an overtake, as Lenny Papinta does get himself up into 3rd place. His teammate Taz coming through sector 1 at the moment. He's down just slightly, so I think Longe could be one to watch for. He's definitely got some pace, just can't keep it clean at the moment.
Yeah, he usually tends to lose a bit of time in potentially the middle sector and the final sector as well. But saying that, he's gained a lot more time in his second sector than he has all qualifying long. He's actually purple in the middle sector, but it may be the game telling us porcupines. But we'll see. It's looking good for the Aston Martin driver who is filling in for one of the Aston Martin drivers. I think it's Jonah Martins, who's not here this week. So he comes through the final corner then. Finished in third last week, as I was saying earlier on, in Zandvoort. What could he get this week as he comes up to the line? Much better improvement from him. P5, not that far behind Leonard and Lenny Pepinter, actually. So it could be that he's closing up to the top three. But the top two of Drake and Morgan Bull are just running away with it with the rest of the field. I think it's becoming a battle to see who will get third place in the qualifying more than P1 and 2, because Drake and Morgan are on another level. I believe that was their first few laps. Speaking of that, Lenny Pepinter has proved my theory wrong. He goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 1:17.0. Drake Dempsey can say, oh, I could do better than you, Lenny, and goes into P1 as well. First man into the 1:16s, and wow, 1:16.6 for him. That is quite a massive improvement from him. So I wonder if he's had low fuel mode. I think at the moment, I think he has lower fuel than he does in the last few runs as well. We do have a yellow flag. It's probably Marcus Towler going slow, but Drake Dempsey looking pretty good. Morgan Bull, though, he's not improving, though. He has invalidated, so he'll have to go again. But Drake Dempsey improved on his second run on those intermediate tyres. So I wonder if more people will get into the low 1:17s just like Lenny and Morgan, or will we see a few more people going to the 1:16s? But that is a cracker time for Drake Dempsey.
Yeah, it was final chicane again from Morgan Bull. Got it wrong through there. It would have been a good enough time to get him back ahead of the Mercedes of Lenny Pepinter, but just in that invalidation, as I've seen David Zunchik just get it wrong coming through the final corner, doesn't improve, so he stays in 10th position for now. It's so demoralising when, if you're Lenny, you're thinking, right, I've finally got the lap right, I've got myself up there on a 1:17.0, and then a few seconds later, Drake goes and knocks 3 and a bit tenths off of that time. You've got to somehow, when you think you've got everything out of the car, somehow find a way to just drag, and it's not even that tiny bit, dragging a tiny bit out of a car for these drivers is thousandths, hundredths of a second. He's got to find 3 and a bit tenths out of somewhere. It is going to take a special lap to beat the American at the moment, and if he carries this onto the race, he's going to be a strong favourite for 3 in a row.
Yeah, he could as well. I did predict that Drake Dempsey was going to get 3 in a row as well. He said in his interview last week that it's kind of like a home Grand Prix for him as well. So if he doesn't do well, he's probably going to be very disappointed, and I think he's only hoping for a win tonight. So high expectations for the American indeed, because it's not that far from obviously Canada, USA. It shares the border pretty much as well. So we'll see how Danny does in P7 at the moment. He's got a few more attempts to find to get himself on to potentially P3 at the moment. The checker flag has dropped, so we'll see the final few people set some lap times as we're seeing a Mercedes bin it in the final corner as well, so he's not going to improve on his lap. Danny can improve to 5th position. David finishes in a P10, so that is the highest he's going to finish at the moment. And we've got Lenny Pepinter up to the line as well. Can he get into the 1:16s like Drake Dempsey? Yes, he does, but it's not quite enough for pole position. Drake Dempsey has invalidated on his final run, so he can't improve. Stays in P1 though. He's going to hope that not many people improve on their runs. Can Morgan Bull not invalidate on the final corner? He doesn't this time. So we'll see if he can match his teammate. 1:17.1. He does not improve on his lap time. Nobody seems to be improving on his lap time unless you're WR Leonard. He goes into P2. What a stellar lap time from him. Matteo Longe, he cannot improve. He stays in 6th position. JC is going through the last couple of corners as well. This long straight coming up now. Let's see if he can find a few more temps. If he finds a few more temps, he could be within the likes of Danny and Morgan Bull potentially as well. But JC invalidates in the final corner. So that is it then for qualifying, as Matteo has invalidated. So once again, Drake Dempsey seems to be on form, but Leonard, that was a very good final lap there.
Yeah, Leonard, really good final lap. Pretty much the only driver I think to improve on their final runs. Taz managed to get ahead of Marcus Towler, who I think was the driver who lost it coming through the final chicane with a few seconds to go in that qualifying session. But yeah, Drake on pole position, Leonard in second. He's probably 2 main rivals for the championship of Drake's, Lenny and Morgan alongside each other on the second row of the grid. And of course, if it's dry, they're all going to have a fresh choice of tyres. So it'll be really intriguing to see what everyone goes for.
Yes, I think it's going to be quite a mixture actually, but usually the two-stop works. Most people will probably be starting on the softs, but I have seen a Canada race around here where the soft to medium strategy could be possible. People may think I'm going crazy at the moment, but it is absolutely true here at Canada. So we'll have a quick look at what to expect for this track, which is quite long actually. A long race obviously in the past in 2011, but let's hope the drivers will be hoping it for a short race and hopefully dry qualifying session as well. And this was the race we saw in season 8 where we saw Flying Rosie and Shizu Ewan getting blacklisted for contact at turn 1, so it must have been a very huge incident then. So let's quick look at the track. 4.3 kilometers long, 14 turns, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, 3 DRS zones for overtaking, 1 at the start finish straight, 1 going into the final quick chicane of turn 13 and 14, and then one last one after turn 7. The DRS detection point could be key, as Luke said as well. So we're looking to see season 8 where we see TRL Martin, a famous name in the Xbox community, makes a brilliant move heading towards the final corner in a DRS straight. It shows that you can make an overtake work, and he did that brilliantly. And who remembers last season? Tom Martinez pulling off a strategy masterclass to get on to the podium and get on to win the race eventually as well. And it goes down in history as one of the best wins I've seen in WR for a very, very long time. And I hope you enjoyed it as well. So we are about to get started then with this a brilliant race, and I hope you're going to enjoy it as much as I do. So here we go then with all the drivers racing. We've got tyres to look for now, so let me just get the tyres up for here. It looks like an overcast session right now. I thought it would be a mixed bag at the moment, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a mixed bag. Everybody is on the medium tyres. Not what I would have gone for, but everyone wanting to go for that alternate strategy. But technically, it's not an alternate strategy, isn't it, Luke? Because everyone's on the same tyre.
Yeah, everyone's just gone for the safe option, I think, everyone, for the moment. They really think that there is an opportunity to get some good points here, of course, being a limited grid, and for anyone who's unfamiliar with the point system used here in WOR, almost identical to what is used in Formula 1, except you do not get the point for a fastest lap, but it is 25 for the win, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1 for the top 10 finishers. And given by his form in qualifying, it's going to take something pretty special to stop Drake Dempsey being that person who picks up the full 25 points. Really did put in some good laps, and Lennard just sort of went under the radar, sort of steadily improved as the session goes on. And as I say that, no almost loses it on the formation lap. It's a good job there's no damage on formation laps on this game, otherwise that would have been an even hairier moment. He just managed to keep it out of the wall, just managed to keep it in second place, but that just shows how tough the tyre warm-up can be, especially in these overcast conditions.
Yes, indeed. A few people are out of position though. Matteo Longay as well is looking to climb his way up. Obviously, JC, our champion from last season, he's out of position. Marcus Towler, who had a really good result in Imola, I believe, he's out of position. Quite a few people are out of position, and we've still yet to see what Danny is going to be doing here in this tier. It's his debut in WOR. He's done well in previous leagues, like I said earlier, but can he deliver when it counts to maybe get a full-time seat in the future? 35 laps await our drivers then, as Drake Dempsey is on pole with Leonard alongside. We've got the 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are underway here in Canada. Let's see who gets a decent start. Drake Dempsey gets a good start heading towards turn 1 as well. Morgan Ball's been pressured by Danny already. Danny's already up into 3rd place, so he's on a roll at this moment in time. Lenny Papinta is going on side by side, heading towards turn 2 and 3 with Morgan Ball as well. Lenny Papinta's also up into 4th. Looks like a clean start from all our tier 2 drivers at the moment, but Taz seems to be struggling. Now he's dropped down a few places down to 10th place. Dave Rombes stayed exactly where he is as well, down in 11th place as well, but the top 2 remaining unchanged at the moment. Leonard's got to hope he doesn't have that formation lap incident that he had heading towards turn 10, but it seems pretty clean so far. But I did say Danny wanted to make a good first impression. He's already making a good impression already. He's made a few places already up the start.
Yeah, biggest winner at the start, has the biggest loser. It was actually Lenny Papinta who got the worst getaway, I think, out of everyone on the grid. Morgan Ball getting ahead of him straight away, and then Danny and Matteo Longe almost followed through as well, but he sort of managed to find some space round the outside, work his way up, so he is now back up into 4th place, and he's really closing up to the back of Danny. First time they'll be able to use DRS, of course, is lap number 3 on the run, coming out of turn number 7, and they're all fairly close between each other at the moment. It is Drake in the lead, and you can just see how much nicer it is in these conditions. They're faster than what they're doing in qualifying, and that's after starting that's from a standing start, and obviously we were full load of fuel, so these dry conditions much suiting the cars better. I wouldn't guarantee that it's going to stay dry all the race though. We don't know what the strategies are we don't know what the weather is going to be, but maybe that's a possible reason for everyone starting on a set of the mediums.
Yeah, it could be raining towards the end of the race. It could rain very, very soon as well, because it was quite overcast as well, but there is some sun trying to peep up as well, so it could get sunny. It could be dry, wet, dry. You never know, so they've got to be on their A game. The only people that know the weather are the drivers. We don't know, so we don't tend to ask drivers about the weather because we want to be surprised as much as you guys in the chat as well. Let us know your predictions as who you think is going to be winning this race, who's going to be the biggest gainer as well. We got JC going to be in a DRS train very soon with Matteo Longe and Marcus Towler, and we got David in 9th place as well, trying to make up some ground too as well. Taz especially will need to make up even more ground, but they're still in that long train, so anything can happen, and Drake Dempsey is already starting to run away with it, but Leonard is letting that mistake behind him at the moment as he's gone 3 laps without bidding it at the moment and trying to keep up with Drake Dempsey. It is quite a hard task for him, but he's doing a pretty good job, but he's got Danny really catching him. But the huge threat is Lenny Propinter. He was absolutely going, like he said, that he had a bad start and he wants to recover from it right now. And he's got plenty of DRS coming up too as well. The detection point is right now. He's purple in the first sector as well. So he's got DRS open, but Danny also's got DRS in front. So that counteracts any move that he was going to make right now. Maybe he can make a move into the hairpin or maybe in the final corner, but wasn't meant to be heading towards turn 8. But Lenny Propinter could be the one that's most likely to go for the move out of everybody. But everybody is in one huge train. All it takes is for one person to make a mistake. And as I said that, Marcus Towler has just spun into the hairpin.
Yeah, had a wheel issue in qualifying. I think that's what caused his crash. Whether that was a similar issue or just spun it under a bit of pressure, I'm not sure. But that has split the field out. JST has now got over 1 second gap ahead of Zunchik, so that's going to be an intriguing one to see whether he can close back up. And Morgan Ball is just hovering around that 1 second point behind Lenny Propinter. And if he drops outside a second, he won't get the DRS, and that might just give Longe, Jay, some of the other drivers a bit of a chance as well. But the longer they're in the train, I think the more likely you're going to see someone go for an early pit stop to try and get a really effective undercut around here, especially if they go for a set of soft tyres in the middle stint. That could really put them in good stead for the middle stint. They might struggle later on in the race when some of the other drivers will be thinking about the soft tyres. But Drake leading at the moment. He's not running away with this. He is doing a very good job of saving his ERS though. He's got more than the entire field really. He's not got the DRS, so that's just showing the pace that he seems to have tonight.
Yeah, he is as well. Maybe he's a driver that's thinking or potentially making the 1 stop work, even though 2 stops seems to be the faster strategy on this game. But fresh tyres, though, played a massive factor because no one has used mediums in qualifying, so they'll have another fresh set there as well. So if they want to do 2 medium stints, they can. If they want to do 2 soft stints, they can after this one. They're very, very flexible in terms of the strategies. We got our first penalty on the board. I'm quite surprised it only took until lap 5 to get a penalty, but David unfortunately has picked up 3-second time penalty for cutting way too many corners. I wonder if that's not going to be the only one tonight. I think there's going to be quite a few more people getting time penalties as we head past into turn 7 now. Marcus Towler now picks up a time penalty as well. Danny Lusing actually looked under threat from Lenny Propinter, but actually he's a huge threat to Leonard as we head towards turn 8. The dirty egg could play at a disadvantage right now, so he can't make the move stick at the moment. But since Drake is controlling the pace at the moment, that's why not many people are probably going for the move. This is probably the first race where pretty much almost everybody is in one DRS train. Dabby doesn't have any DRS, neither does Marcus Towler. Everybody else has got some DRS to play with, so I would expect Taz to potentially go for the move. Actually, he's going to go for the move now, heading towards this back straight then. Can he make the move stick then? He does that quite easy at the moment. We saw someone actually get in the switchback. I think it's the Williams drive of Dave's Wombats. That was a brilliant move as we're seeing David go into the pits. I wonder if he got damaged somewhere earlier on. So Dave's Wombats up into 9th place as we got Leonard trying to go side by side with Danny losing. I said he was going to be a huge threat in this race, heading towards turn 3 and 4, but he's going to be huge now, but Danny unfortunately could not get the move done. Leonard was a bit more aware there that Danny was right up the gear on the engine of him, so he was able to defend quite nicely indeed. This is shaping up to be a very good battle between the top 3. We only got 11 drivers, but we're still having some very, very great action. Watch out for Danny, watch out for Lenny, I think.
Yeah, definitely. They are putting on a show. David's come out onto a second set of the medium tyres. And Danny Lusing then just completely tried it around the outside at turn number 1. I didn't think there was space. He was half on the grass, and I think maybe that affected his braking and forced him to run a bit wide, but seems to have so much more pace through the chicane than Leonard, who actually may have got a bit too close to Drake Dempsey coming into the final few corners there, coming into, I believe it's 13 and 14. So maybe if he's learned his lesson this time, if he just stays a bit further back, but again, just on the exit of the chicane, loses absolute heaps of time, and all of a sudden, from a possible attack on Drake, has to think about defending. Does just stay, though, in second place for now. These front, you can say front 7 cars now, really close together, because Morgan, Matteo, and Jay have all closed up as well.
Yes, anything can happen, and it may come to who gets the least penalties that could win this race. That's how close it is between the top 7. All the top 7 have winning potential, so we don't know if Danny has winning potential, but everyone else in the top 7 has proven to have done very well on closing up to win. Obviously, Lenny being one who's been under the radar, Leonard actually being the one that's been under the radar this season. Lenny Bapinto, of course, did well in the first half of the season. Hasn't had a win since, but he's looking to be the second person to be winning 2 races this season. Drake Dempsey is going to be the first person to have 3 wins this season and 2 wins in a row. Danny is going on the aggressive. He's on the attack. He's the prancing horse right now. Leonard is under huge threat. Let's see what he could do. Heading towards the final corner as well. Make sure you plant your car very, very nicely to avoid getting a corner cutting penalty. Leonard could be the first to blink it, but we are starting to see that there's less overcast right now. It's actually nice and sunny here in Canada, so the threat of rain that we could be experiencing is probably not happening right now, but you never know. The weather is set to approximate, so it could be nice and sunny now, but it could be raining towards the end of the race, but we will keep you informed, obviously, as the race progresses. And then we obviously got Morgan Ball also in this train as well, looking to continue their form of doing well in the constructors. They're leading the constructors like we were saying earlier on as well. Pretty much been leading the constructors for the whole season as well. That's how consistent they have been so far. I'm looking at Danny Lusing's ERS actually. 30% right now. Leonard is losing quite a lot less compared to Danny. So I wonder if Leonard is being a bit patient, not going for the overtake yet. And I wonder if Leonard's going to be using all of that to defend. But here comes Danny then. A little bit more closer this time, but I doubt he's going to go for a move here. Maybe into turn 1, but not quite here. So top 3 remain as they are, heading towards lap 9.
Yeah, the ball is seeing red at the moment. It's that red of the rear wing on the back of Leonard. He has been stuck behind that car for a while. It's been the closest we've seen to being an overtake in the top part of the field. I think he's actually bumped the back of Leonard coming through turn number 2. Can't quite get the exit that he needs to get that move done, but they are really closing up at the moment. Like you said, Jess, he's using a big amount of his electrical energy. These ERS that you can recover through the braking and through the turbo system as well, but just doesn't seem to be able to get a run on. And this is what happens with the DRS trains. This next DRS zone is not really a realistic opportunity unless you've got a massive tyre delta to the car in front, or unless they make a mistake. But further down the field, you've got Jay and Matteo Longe side by side, and that is Jay making the move. He is up into 6th. I think Matteo must have made a mistake because the gap has really opened up between himself and Morgan. He's going to try and fight back, though, round the outside. Out of the hairpin, that'll be a brave move if he can make that one work. Should get the DRS, though, down the back straight, and I'm not sure Jay will be able to defend this.
No, be worried. I think Mateo is hungry for it as well. Redemption is what he needs after poor qualifying. He's looking to gain as many positions as he can then. So he goes past on the back straight before the final corner. Brilliant move. Well timed and executed up to 6th place. But JC is looking like he's going to get the move. Heading towards turn 1. It's like a ding-dong battle between these two. They switch positions almost every sector as JC now gets a move done on the Aston Martin driver up into 6th place now. They both got time penalties though, so this is for track position. So this battle could go on for ages as well. And because JC has now run out of, it's got no DRS actually, this could be good news for Mateus. We got our first retirement in the pits, I believe. That is David, who has retired. He's probably had a very bad race so far, so he's given up there, which is unfortunate. There still could have been chances for him to score points this race, but good news if you're in the top 10 and still in this race, you will be getting points, because the top 10, like Luke was saying, get points in WOR. No points for fastest lap, but as long as you're in this race, you will score points. How many points will be decided at the end of this race. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, as long as you're here, as long as you're on the lead lap as well, in case it's a safety car, you've always got a chance and always got that possibility. It's a game with top 3. Just Constantine up into the braking for 13 and 14. They spread out slightly once more, but here it is, Danny again all over the back of Leonard, and I think again he's going to have to go for the outside. We might nearly be 3 wide into turn 1. I think Drake's got a bit wide there, maybe just getting a bit of a bump. Leonard in 2nd place has turned defence into attack all over the back of the McLaren all of a sudden. How on earth did no positions change hands there?
I don't know as well. Maybe Drake was looking quite comfortable there trying to defend for his life, but his heart must have been racing there where he had Leonard and Danny both going for him into turn 1. But look at that, Drake Dempsey is already pulling away from this top 2, so maybe he's using his electrical energy much more efficiently than this top two of cars of Leonard and Danny, and obviously Lenny as well, who's also in this. Look at Morgan Ball in this little train as well. He could be the one to join the party if these two do not get a move on. Here comes Danny again, around the right-hand side of the hairpin. He keeps it very, very tight towards the DRS as he almost had a bit of a slide out on there. Did he save that? That could have been an accident for sure, but that means Lenny Pipinta is able to capitalise on that and take advantage, but he can't get past as well. Still, positions have not changed hands as of yet. I don't know why it has not happened at the moment, as it looks like Leonard is the closest of getting a move into turn number 1, as we got another retirement on Matteo Longe. He has retired in the pit after he got a speeding penalty, unfortunately, so that is his race done. And us, it's a bit of a shame because it looked like JC and Matteo Longe's battle looked like it was brilliant, so maybe he had a bit of damage early on, I don't know. Ooh, Drake Dempsey getting a bit skirmish heading towards turn 5, 6 and 7, so that is a bit unfortunate. Maybe Leonard could have capitalised on that, but he didn't. Just shows that Drake Dempsey is on another level as well. Danny actually is looking like he's going to take advantage after Leonard's little squirmy moment at the moment, but again, can't get past.
Yeah, Leonard just went a bit deep into turn number 6. Compromises the line through 7, of course, and if it wasn't for the DRS, Danny would have definitely had that move and then been all over the back of Drake Dempsey. And it is his DRS that's just closing people in at the moment. It is a relatively short circuit, of course, 35 laps, similar to Austria, which has 36. And with the 3 DRS zones, it means that it is really easy for the entire pack to stay together. I mean, top 6 drivers at the moment, because Jay's got himself back into this as well. He's only 2 seconds off the lead, as we have got the first of our leaders to come into the pits, and that is Danny Lusing. He's on his way in, should come out in plenty of free air on a set of the medium tyres, so he will have to come in. Again, he's nailed his flag to a 2-stop mast. Let's see if this undercut works for him.
Yes, but it could be a danger where he loses out on a potential one-stop strategy, but he thinks that the one-stop strategy will not work. He thinks it could be a late safety car, and he thinks that the 2-stop could be the fastest. So we'll keep an eye on the tyre wear, especially for this top 3 as we head towards about the lap 19, lap 20 mark. The doubters could be absolutely huge, and if Danny gets a safety car, maybe potentially that could play right into his hands because he has pitted already. But don't forget, you have to use at least 1 different tyre compound. So you use the mediums, you can't use the mediums again to make the pit stop mandatory. So you've got to go onto a set of the soft or the hard tyres towards the end. So Danny's going to hope he does not make any mistakes, because surely Danny wants to go onto the softs towards the end, because theirs are the ones that have the most grip. at the moment. Nobody's used the softs yet, so we don't know how quick these softs can be in race conditions for Tier 2. Obviously, there was a race last season, but I wasn't here for it, so I wonder how well they would have done there. I think it was probably intermediate conditions, I think, for the race as well. So it seems to be a thing in Canada in Tier 2, but this time it was the qualifying, not the race, as JC, he's gone for a completely different strategy compared to the rest of the field. He's got a front wind change, so I wonder if Matteo and JC made contact earlier on, but instead of going for the mediums, he has gone for the softs. Surely this can't be a double soft then, because the softs can go away pretty quickly, so maybe JC is seeing something that we're not.
Yeah, maybe just going for that soft stint now, trying to, like I said, pull off that really aggressive undercut on the rest of the cars, and then just hope he can hold on at the end of the race on the set of the medium tyres. Did have a front wing change as well, so obviously that has cost him chunks of time. He's 9 seconds behind Danny at the moment, but depending on how long these front drivers go, this could still work out for him. I know when I did the top tier on the PS platform last year where Sam Corby took the victory, it was very close at the end of the race between all those drivers that won the one stop, Sam being one of them. I think he admitted it was only because a lot of the other drivers didn't come into the pits early that he decided just to stay out that extra bit longer and just go for that one-stop strategy. This is the closest Leonard has been, though, to the back of Drake, back to the front of the race, lap number 15, and decides just to stay back for now, almost as if he didn't want to go for that overtake. Days Rhombus comes into the pits then from, that was 5th place, I think he was in after the first few pit stops. He's also gone for a set of soft tyres, as unsurprisingly, Danny, fastest lap of the race, 1:11.146, and I'm going to quickly get that up and compare it to the leaders. He's about a second a lap faster at the moment.
Wow, that is pretty good as well. So I'm wondering if more people are going for the aggressive undercut strategy. Days Rhombus has done exactly the same to what JC does as well. Similar colours for the Williams and the Alpine. Does that mean they're probably helping each other out? I don't know. Maybe Days Rhombus thought that JC's lap times were getting quicker, so potentially that was why he went into the pits anyway. So Days Rhombus, maybe this could work, maybe this could not as well. I wonder if more people will go for that aggressive strategy and go on the softs. Days Rhombus, though, he's got a 3-second time penalty as well, so more penalties on the board right now. Leonard's looking very, very close towards this back straight. Not quite close enough as they head towards the wall of champions. Morgan Ball gets his first penalty on the board. This could be huge for him if he wants to help his team in the Constructors' Championship. Leonard makes a move and tries to go and dive and goes a long way round, but he does not. But Lenny Papinta thinks that if Leonard can't go for the move, Lenny could go for the move, but he does not, unfortunately. But this is absolutely insane between this top three, and Danny is already very, very quick compared to these medium runners, and he's already closing up to the next DRS tray with Marcus Towler coming up very, very soon. 3.2 seconds as well, so Danny could get into 5th position. Don't forget the pit stop. The loss you lose around here is not very much. It's around about 17 seconds. That is quite similar to Zandvoort, remember, a few weeks ago, both in Tier 1 and Tier 2, where we both experienced it, where the pit lane loss is quite short compared to, obviously, other tracks where Silverstone's quite long and also Singapore, but this is quite a short one as well, one of the shortest on the calendar, so I think, I'm surprised not many people are going for the aggressive undercut, but maybe most people are going to try for that one stop, see if it works. If it doesn't, maybe it'll come back to bite them in the end. Then we're heading towards lap 17. Leonard, he's got to go for it, because if he does not, and if he doesn't make that move stick, Lenny could go and pounce.
Yeah, good. Of course, the alternate to going for the one stop for these lead cars, because of how long they've gone, they could probably pull off 2 soft stints now, but they might just be vulnerable to some of the cars a bit further back. They have a 19-second gap ahead of Days Rhombus at the moment. That's the gap they'll be, if they do have anyone engineering for them, that's the one that they'll be looking at. Thinking about the times, as unsurprisingly, Jay, fastest lap of the race again on that set of the soft tyres. They're going so much quicker than those at the front. And I think we would have seen a change at the front, but Leonard is just being cautious because he knows if he gets it wrong, goes in a bit deep. Earlier on, he'd have had Danny on the back of him. Now he's going to have Lenny all over the back of him if he gets it wrong. Needs to be careful about where to choose his move, and I wonder, I think it was if we were in the final few laps of the race rather than just before halfway, he definitely sent it on that previous lap up the inside of Drake Dempsey, but I think for now, he's quite content to stay in this position. But if he thinks he should go faster, he could go faster. Really needs to get a move on.
He does, because Lenny Papinta is about a 10th quicker than Leonard right now, and he's also behind them by a 10th or 2 as well. So Lenny looking very, very good, but let's see if Leonard can go for the move now as well. But sometimes it's best to stay behind to help with the trap position because you don't really want to have an incident. But these three have been battling throughout this entire race without any incident. So surely if they go for a move, it will be very, very respectable indeed. But surely Leonard will probably want to go for the move before the pit stops because of the undercut. So maybe if Leonard can't make the move on track, maybe he would want to pit earlier than Drake Dempsey so he can cover off that aggressive strategy, maybe go onto the soft compounded tyres until the end of the race, and that could really help him in that regard as well, which will make Drake Dempsey's life a lot harder to try and defend, but we'll have to wait and see. That is my reckoning right now. So watch out for Leonard probably pitting earlier than everybody else. Meanwhile, Danny has got past Marcus Towler on the fresh mediums up into 6th place. I wonder if Marcus Towler mediums is starting to wear off a little bit. We're almost pretty much past the lifespan of those medium tyres, but with this game they could go even a few more laps than intended, possibly due to obviously their tyre management as well. Maybe they're not pushing as much right now as Danny gets past Taz once again. Danny is making his way through the field pretty quickly, and he could hope that he could try and catch up to these guys before they pit, because if they do, then this 2-stop could work for the Red Bull driver. He could be on course to be taking a very good podium. Set to 3, he was purple in that final set, so he didn't get the fastest lap yet, but it just shows that the memes are working out for the Red Bull driver, and he's going to be lightning quick on those softs, so just watch out for him.
Yeah, certainly. He got past Marcus and Taz pretty much as easily as he could have done, and I think getting the DRS helped him get that purple sector 3, but he's just in free air at the moment using those tyres, and that's what he needs. He hasn't got... Could have had a fuller grid, maybe he'd have had more cars to try and fight his way through. And this strategy would not have worked out as well, but he's in free air at the moment, just pushing as hard as he can, trying to take everything out of those mediums, and then going to, of course, to the softs at the end of the race, whereas these lead lot, they all look like they're going for the one-stop, you've got to say, the top 4 drivers at the moment, as well as Taz and Marcus Towler, going for that one-stop strategy, which, you know, it's a more cautious approach. You've definitely got to be careful on your tyres and make sure that you're not locking up the fronts too much. And, if I'm being honest, I haven't seen too many lockups at the moment, but the previous lap was a perfect example, again from Leonard, of just not wanting to go for the lead. He could have sent it down the inside. I reckon could well have got the car stopped, because Drake braked a good 10 metres later than him and was easily able to make the apex. So Leonard just seems happy to stay behind, save a bit of DRS at the moment, but is he losing time?
He's probably losing time with the tyre wear as well, just being stuck behind as well. Imagine how much time he would have lost in the corners, and Lenny Papinja's already been squirming already, so I wonder if Lenny's tyres are starting to fall on the edge of the cliff at the moment. So be aware of these punches coming very, very soon. So it's all going to be about tyre management for the final few laps before they go on to the soft compounded tyres. Really, if you go for the pit for the softs now, you'll have to pit again, and that would really, really disadvantage you, because the likes of Dave Wombus, Jay, who are pitted already, they would take full advantage of that. Same with, obviously, Danny as well, but obviously Danny will have to pit again anyway, and he's already 5.9 seconds behind this train. As we're seeing our first pitter in the pits, Drake Dempsey is deciding, you know what, I don't want Leonard to have this undercut advantage. I want to have this undercut advantage, but he's going very early, actually. I thought he would have gone a few laps later. Those softs are going to be quite hard to manage until the end of the race, but we'll have to wait and see if these could do it. But if he has to pit again, that is way too late to go into the pits. Not what I wanted to do, pitting on lap 21, but maybe his mediums are starting to struggle a little bit. You never know, but if there's another safety car, he could be back into this. But quite an interesting strategy for Drake, but we'll see what the others do.
Yeah, I feel like he's sort of in between a rock and a hard place with that strategy. If you were going to do a double soft stint, probably could have come in a lap or two earlier. If you're trying to do the one stop, probably want to come in a lap or two later, but maybe just thinking that that is the best time for him. He's all over the back of Jay. I don't think the Alpine will be able to provide too much resistance. He's done 7 laps on those soft tyres. He's running out of ERS. He's definitely taken the best out of them, but even just getting stuck behind him like he is now for a couple of corners could make all the difference. He's going to think about sending one, no, stays behind into the hairpin, tries to take that later apex to get the better exit. Jay still hanging on ahead of him, but there's not going to be a lot he can do as the front 3 drivers come into the pits. That's going to promote Danny into the lead of the race. And what is really going to be interesting, where is Leonard going to come out relative to Drake Dempsey? Yes, Drake lost some time in the dirty air. He probably gained it all back on the DRS.
Yes, I think the main reason why Drake Dempsey pitted earlier, because obviously he didn't want Morgan Ball to be losing out on the double stack as well, and he wanted to try and gain a lot from his rivals as well. And being that, Morgan Ball will still be in that DRS train. That is very good tactics for the McLaren team. Morgan Ball has not lost position there right now, but he's down in 8th position. But don't forget, we've still got JC and Dave Wombus to potentially make another pit stop, because there's no way those softs can get to the end of this race. So at the moment, Drake Dempsey is your net race leader, because Danny still has to make 1 tyre stocks, otherwise he will get disqualified for failing to use another different tyre compound, which will be the soft compound tyres or the hards. But I wouldn't want to use the hards around here because they are absolute nightmare, but the softs will potentially get to the end in 2 laps time, so maybe he's waiting for that perfect opportunity. So he's got to try and increase that gap as much as possible in order to potentially stay in that train. But look at this. This could potentially be 3 wide here between Dave Rhombus, Drake Dempsey, and Taz as well. Taz being left vulnerable between Drake and Dave Rhombus, but Drake Dempsey got past both of them. Drake Dempsey is up into P2. All he's got to do is try and close up to the likes of Danny. As we had a spinner, we have Taz, who's gone into the pits, actually, not a spinner, sorry, my bad, I thought he had a bit of a spin there, but he's going on those soft tyres. He's trying to make that one stop strategy work too. So that is everybody apart from Danny, Dave Wombus and Jay making the required pit stop they need to potentially get to the end of this race.
Yeah, I think it all got a bit messy there between Dave Wombus and Taz, obviously, after Drake had got ahead of him, because Wombus had to cut over the chicane. Did follow the correct line, so perfectly legal with that one, and he's now under big pressure from Leonard, who's going to get one done down the inside into the 8 and 9 chicane. So Leonard, now that he's lost for DRS and now that he's fighting his way through traffic, Drake Dempsey's got that gap up to 2.5 seconds. So this might be the opportunity for Lenny Papinta to try and move his way up the order, because with the 3-second time penalty for Danny Lusink as well, this could well be a battle for second place when it comes to the checkered flag in just over 12 laps time. Morgan Ball not finding it as easy to get through the traffic, and we might nearly be going 3 wide again here. Jay alongside Dave Rhombus backs out for now. Morgan Ball just in behind, and in the end Rhombus comes into the pits. He's on to score his first points of the season, of course, as long as he makes his way towards the checkered flag, back towards the lead of the race. So 6.8 seconds the gap between Danny and Drake Dempsey. It's going to be about 11 or 12 seconds behind at the end of the race. He'll have a lot fresher tyres. Might still get the victory out on track. I just think that 3-second time penalty will cost him.
Yeah, it would. Only 3 drivers yet to get a time penalty in this race. That is Drake Dempsey, Leonard and Lenny Papinta, as Taz has retired from the session. So we're now down to 8 drivers in this Canadian Grand Prix. So yeah, if Dave Romber just stays in this race, he could jump quite a few positions in this championship just by the amount of people not scoring any points this season. So if I was Dave Wombus, I know I'm way behind my nearest rivals. I would keep going. Same with Marcus Towler, as well as we've got obviously yellow flags for Taz's AI coming out of the pits. Hopefully the AI will be parked in a good position, but it is ghosting on anyway, as Lenny Papinta actually gets past Leonard there just before the final corner there. So he needed that DRS, and Leonard was vulnerable once again with no DRS. So Lenny is up into a net P2 of this race, which is what he needed to try and close up to Drake Dempsey and Morgan Ball in this championship. 109.9 for the Mercedes driver on the fresher tyres compared to Drake Dempsey. So this could be an interesting strategy for him. If he closes up to Drake Dempsey, this could be game on as well, as Drake Dempsey's tyres start to run out on lap 32, 33, I would say. So this could be game on for Lenny Papinta.
Yeah, it could be. He's going to have the better tyres. Leonard also got a 3-second time penalty as well, so I think that completely removes him from the equation for the victory from this race, unless we see Lenny and Drake get penalties as well. But they've really stepped the pace up. What was about a 2.5 second gap earlier on to the back of Drake Dempsey is now about 1.2 seconds. So I wonder, is Drake just trying to save the tyres a tiny bit, try to stretch them, of course, towards the end of the race, because he's not catching Danny anywhere near as much as you would expect him to do so at this moment in time, but he doesn't want to let the gap get any lower than it is, really, because DRS will take an effect, and of course Slipstream will take an effect, as here comes our race leader, Danny Lusing, into the pits for his final stop. We saw Jay come into the pits as well on the previous lap. Soft tyres are on for him. He's going to come out in 5th place. He's going to come out in some clear air. How far up the order can the debutant get?
Yeah, exactly. He's going to get points nonetheless, which will be pretty much an achievement in itself as well. That'll make the second driver this season to score on debut. We saw, like, obviously Matteo score a P3 a few weeks ago, but he's not going to score any points as all. That was tight between Danny and Marcus Towler as well. Marcus Towler, unfortunately, getting a bit of end plate damage as well. So I wonder if he's going to get compromised for the remainder of this race. He's not going his way, Marcus Towler, this race, but he'll still get in the top 8, which is what he wanted. But Danny is struggling a little bit. They were very, very close coming out of the pits, actually, Danny, as well. So the undercut was not efficient for Marcus Towler, and obviously Danny staying out a little bit more, trying to increase the gap, may have helped him in that regard as well. But he's 8 seconds behind the next car, which is Morgan Ball, and he will probably get P4 at best at the moment, because only Drake and Lenny yet to get any penalties this race. We just got to keep an eye who has 3 seconds. If you just have 3 seconds of penalties, you should be all right and potentially keep your position, because Drake, Dempsey and Lenny are just battling away at the front. And then we got Leonard in there as well, but I don't think Leonard is going to get the win, because he's the first person to be getting a penalty, obviously, in the top 3. So a bit dangerous there. It's Marcus Towler. He is going into the pits right now. Still chances to get some points if you do not retire. Luckily, he wasn't like Taz and Matteo, who retired in the pit lane. Marcus Towler decides to keep going. And you know what? Why not? Chance to beat your rivals as well. And those points could make a difference in terms of the midfield in this championship. You never know. So maybe Marcus Towler doing the right thing just to soldier on, even if the going gets tough.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, yeah, he's going to be on his own. Most likely he's going to get 4 points from this race, but that's 4 points then better off than those who've retired in the pits, which everyone in this race has done. 4 points better off than those drivers who unfortunately didn't turn up, and you never know what could happen. We've already seen Danny get pretty close to Marcus earlier. That's why he's had to make that extra pit stop. The 3 leaders are separated by half a second. Who knows what could happen? The walls are never too far away here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as the leaders come on to lap 28. 8 to go for them.
Ooh.
And interestingly, on that last lap, Danny got himself a extra time penalty. I think Leonard got very close to the back of Lenny.
Yeah, we almost actually went into Lenny there. That's why you heard the ooh heading towards turn 1. It got quite close, but Leonard was just not able to get the move done, unfortunately, as well. But Leonard is very keen. He lost a bit of time there as well, just by going in too deep as well, which is a bit of a shame for the Alfa Romeo driver. But he's got nothing to lose at this stage. He's got the most to gain out of Lenny and Drake Dempsey. If he stays in P3, that'll be absolutely huge. Morgan Ball's not even catching up to the likes of Leonard, so this could be a fantastic podium position. I think this could be his best result this season as well. Obviously, Leonard has had a few points finishes this season, but he's struggling to find a consistency. Maybe Canada is the start of finding his consistency, because obviously we had our break week and now we're back in pure fashion to carry on with some racing. JC has picked up another time penalty as well to add on to the ball, which is not ideal for the reigning champion from last season, who wanted to do a little bit better than this season at the moment, because obviously JC, I believe, finished second last season in Canada. He's in P6 right now, but obviously there's a high caliber drivers this season in WOR. A few people moving from console to PC, and they've proven to be absolutely spectacular as well. I think we've seen in all tiers as well. Anyone that's moved from console to PC has done a stellar job to match up to the big guns right now. Even Dave Bombers is hanging in there in 7th place as well. He knows that if he keeps it out of the Wolves, he could be on for his best point scoring of the season as well, as Marcus gets another 3-second time penalty. It's coming thick and fast, which just shows that they are pushing out there to try and gain as many positions as they can.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're Marcus at the back of the field, you're just going for it now. You're just having a bit of fun, almost like an extra test session for him now. Just practice a few things. Don't know whether he's made any slight changes to, in the pits. You could obviously change the front wing, whether he's trying things on the diff, just trying anything different. Gets the fastest lap. It's not a point anyway. It's just for a bit of glory. So fair play to him for carrying on at the moment. Lenny's really close to the back of Drake, though, coming out of the final chicane. I think he might just be too far back to have a move into turn number 1. But interestingly, the red light was flashing on the back of Drake Dempsey's car. That says he was at less than 10% ERS at that point. He's about 45% less than Lenny. So if he starts derating earlier on down the straight, that could be the opportunity the Mercedes driver needs. And judging by what his overtaking's been like tonight, he doesn't need to be asked twice.
Well, Drake Dempsey, like we said earlier, the only driver to get 2 wins this season. Lenny is looking to join the club and be the second person to do so this season and challenge Drake for the driver's title. Lenny has the pace to do it. He's even showed his Tier 1 potential this season as well by filling in for a couple of races. Actually, he filled for one of the races right now. So, yeah, this could be quite huge for Lenny as well, because there's been some races where he's done quite well, some races where he hasn't, and this could be a chance to capitalise. The only 2 to not get penalties, and he's just probably waiting till the last possible moment, so Drake cannot respond right now. Maybe he could pressure Drake to a mistake, maybe, to get a time penalty. That's what a few people tend to do around here at the late stages of this race. He's got plenty of battery to use as well, so he's been saving it when he needs it, which is in the straight and potentially the DRS straight as well. But he's just super keen. He's just super keen on the throttle. He knows he's faster. He knows that Drake might be struggling on tyre wear as well. And I did say that earlier on as well. Tyres could be a factor towards the end, where the ones who pitted a lot later than Drake Dempsey could be trying to close up. And Drake Dempsey will just need to have a miracle to make the one-stop strategy work. But you never know, it could work with these guys as well. Let's look at Drake Dempsey's ERS. He's on 22, so he knows that he's got a whole train of cars trying to catch up to him as well. Leonard's not really a threat. He's got a time penalty. Lenny, though, is a huge threat.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing with Drake. Earlier on, he was doing okay with the ERS management, but he's punching this massive hole in the air for everyone else to follow. And they've got the DRS as well, so they're shedding even more drag off the car. He's having to use his electrical energy just to keep in the lead of this race. And I think if Lenny just sort of goes to a move, Drake would let him have the position. I can't see him backing off to let Lenny go ahead of him, because Leonard is so close. So being a 3-car train at the moment is probably bad news for Drake. It's probably bad news for Leonard in this situation as well. Further back, of course, let's not forget about Danny Lusing. He's 2.5 seconds behind Morgan Ball at the moment, but does have 3 seconds extra of penalty. So I think that confirms the one-stop strategy was definitely the way to go.
Yeah, it is as well. Well, usually in the lower tiers, most people will probably try the 2-stop strategy, myself included as well. But for the top tiers, especially obviously the PC tiers as well, the one-stop could potentially work. I was struggling to believe it myself when I commentated on the Canada race in PSGL and in the second tier on PlayStation. I thought, there's no way the one-stop strategy would work, but it did as well. It was quite tough as well. They were on 70-80% tyre wear, but nobody punctured in the top lot as well. So, you know, it could work here as well, as Lenny Papinta had a bit of a moment in the hairpin as well, which could help Leonard, and it could breathe a sigh of relief for Drake Dempsey as he's looking to get his 3rd win of the season. He probably would have liked to see that at the moment. That just shows that Lenny is hungry for it. He's hungry for that victory. He hasn't had a victory since Imola, I believe, so he's got a point to prove. Right now, could he go for the first move, his first attempt, and in towards turn 1, or is he going to wait another lap? He's going to wait another lap, it sounds like, at the moment, but it's going to be harder than it looks right now, and it just shows that he's had a bad qualifying, but he's having a very, very good race. And sometimes, he's like me, sometimes you have a bad quali, but you capitalise a lot more in the race. Maybe he was practicing more for in the race rather than qualifying, because that's where he's probably at his strongest. Or maybe he didn't like the wet, because some people are good in the dry, but not as good in the wet. And I think that's what Lenny is definitely showing. If the qualifying was dry, he would have definitely been challenging Drake for pole position.
Yeah, qualifying's for show, racing's for dough. Racing's where you get the money. Racing is where you get the points. No points given out for pole position here. And let's not forget, Lenny had quite an average start to this race, but managed to avoid losing too many positions. Made a few back on the first lap. Got ahead of Morgan Ball in that situation. Got ahead of Danny thanks to the strategy. Passed Leonard out on track. And that's how he's found himself with 2 laps to go, all over the back of Drake Dempsey. And given the ERS situation between them, probably the heavy favourite at the moment. He's got nearly a full battery, whereas Drake's pretty much got an empty battery on this occasion. A bit deep into turn number 1 from Drake. That slows him down through number 2. But again, Lenny, he's not interested in that. He's almost sliding the rear tyres, though. Is the Mercedes coming through turn number 2? And Lennard just lying in wait. If these two collect each other, he has got 3 seconds of penalties. But if there's big damage for those front 2 drivers, he could still get a victory as well. But he is looking good at least to get his first podium of the season.
I usually have a motto in life, and it is you don't give up, because you never know what could happen. Remember, in the last lap, 2011, Sebastian Vettel was leading. He was leading the race ahead of Jenson Button. He made a slight mistake, and that allowed Jenson Button to breeze through and take the victory after the 4 to 6 hour long race. So anything can happen. Maybe Lennard is hoping the same thing would happen to him and what happened to Jenson Button, but he's got a tough task than Jenson Button. Jenson Button was second before he won the race. Here we go then. Lenny Pinter got the move on Drake Dempsey before the final corner. He used the DRS to full potential. Danny did exactly the same thing to Morgan Ball. The action has been amped up here for this final lap of this race. Lenny Pinter could join the 2-time winners club this season, with Drake Dempsey. He's not going to give up without a fight as well. Maybe Lennard could take advantage as well. We saw Dave Wood actually going to the pits. Maybe he wants to get a bit of fastest lap. Glory, why not? He's got the gap to Marcus Towler, but he's got no fastest lap points. You don't get that in WR. You get that in other leagues, but you don't get it in a WR. Lennard is all the back of Drake Dempsey. Drake Dempsey is harvesting at the moment with his electrical energy, which is never what you want, because he's on 6%. Lenny Pinter a lot better, which I think that is why he's probably managing to keep the lead. Heading towards turn 8, they come there for the final time. Lenny Pinter's already pulling away. He's almost a second clear of Drake Dempsey, so surely this could mean the victory for Lenny Pinter. We'll keep an eye on Lennard actually as we head towards the back straight for the final time. Is he going to get the move done in towards, obviously, the final few corners? He does potentially not. Lenny Pinter's going to cross the line to take his second win of the season, join Drake Dempsey in the 2-time winners club. He wheels across the line. I don't think he should have done that. It was almost a photo finish for Drake Dempsey, and then a 3/100ths of a second it would have been without that, obviously, without that penalty. But Drake Dempsey gets P2, Lennard gets P3. Morgan Ball P4. Danny, I think, finished where he started in P5, which I have to say is a respectable start for his Tier 2 campaign. Obviously, he's a reserve driver. And we still got JC, Dave Rombus and Marcus Towler to cross the line. Their races did not go to plan, but at least they'll be getting points, which is, like you said, Luke, more than the ones who've not turned up and more than the ones that have DNF'd in the pits.
Yeah, certainly. So, consolation points, but at the end of the season, it could be all important. And at the end of the season, that effective 14-point swing, because for the most of that race, Drake Dempsey was leading, but I think just taking those soft tyres maybe a tiny bit too long. If it had been a longer race, things would have been interesting, but it's not a longer race. It is, of course, 35-lap race, and it is Lenny who takes that victory, closing the gap in the championship to Drake Dempsey. Lennard would have been interesting to see, if it wasn't for that penalty, how involved he could have got, but seemed to just suffer in that stint from being the third car, and earlier on, for my liking, wasn't aggressive enough and just always seemed to be stuck behind someone else. So I don't think we really got to see what Lennard could have done today, but he'll be delighted with that first podium nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. A few people getting their best results this season, and usually some people were gutted that it was only 11 cars, but a lot of people take advantage of that as well, like you said as well. But Lenny Pinter shows that he's a king in the dry and is showing Drake, you are leading this championship, but I'm coming for you. I'm coming from this rivalry, and this is going to form a fantastic rivalry for this season. I think it's going to be between Drake and Lenny for this title fight right now. Maybe the other guys like Morgan Ball could be up there, but Morgan Ball only managed to score, I believe, 4th place in the race, which wasn't ideal, but still, he was so close to the podium. Some decent points for McLaren in the constructors. But your final order then for this race, don't forget this is all provisional, because these results could be taken to the stewards, but let's hope not, because it's quite a small grid. Lenny Pinter wins from Drake Dempsey, the American, in 2nd. Lennard in 3rd. Morgan Ball in 4th. Danny in 5th. JC in 6th. Dave was in 7th. And Marcus Towler in 8th. Your final point scorers tonight, and your retirements are Taz, Matteo Longuet and David all retiring in the pit lane. But that top 3 definitely put on a show, and I think what lost the race for Drake Dempsey tonight was pitting a lap earlier than his rivals.